Women of the Channel Leadership Network. I'm Jackie Rives, your community leader, and welcome to another Woman of the Week. This week, I am pleased to get to introduce Tracy Holtz, Vice President of Cloud with TDSynnex. Hi, Tracy. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to getting to know you and for our community to get to know you. So let's start with those icebreakers. Where do you live and where did you grow up if that's different?
Oh, I love this. So I live in St. Petersburg, Florida, not too far away from our global headquarters in Clearwater for TDSynnex. And I grew up most of my life here. So I was born in Pennsylvania, but really what I always say is I'm a Floridian at heart because when you've lived here close to about 50 years, I'd say, Florida's my home.
I'm learning that too. I was born in Pennsylvania, but now I've lived in Georgia longer than I ever lived in Pennsylvania. So I'm on that line where there with you where it's like, oh, when do you stop saying Pennsylvania? So love that.
Likewise. Yeah, and I would say my second home is North Carolina. We have a house in the mountains and get the
Oh,
great privilege of working there sometimes too. So that is certainly my second favorite home.
I love that. All right. What is a little known fact about you that you're willing to share with us?
Oh, a little known fact. So I think, what I'm very well probably and probably don't see in my background is I'm a very creative person. So I have laser machines, I've got embroidery machines, love doing things with paper and transforming houses with art and images. So I've done things with glass. That's probably a little known fact, but probably one that's not as known is that I race RC cars on Monday evening against all men. So it's kind of, I love it. It's maybe one, and I've tried to encourage other women to get involved just because I'm love to spearhead that. Similar
That's a
to
fun fact.
yeah, so it's kind of fun. It's kind of I'm competitive. I love it because it's also my technical and my STEM kind of background, but I love the challenge of it too and learning it. So
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing. All right. Well, let's dive into your career path and maybe share a little bit about that and how you reached this amazing position that you're in at TD Synnex.
yeah, no, thank you for the opportunity. Been with 28 years in the channel, so almost actually 30, I'd say, with some other channel experience. When I started, within our finance organization, led, some roles in that organization for a couple of years. Always knew that I wanted to go over to the vendor management side to lend my creative passion and sales background into driving vendor businesses. So really got the first opportunity to join in our software and kind of really started to grow a security background through that time. And so I started managing multiple vendor lines. I used to say that I don't think there was many software lines I didn't get the privilege of owning at some capacity or another, and really started taking an interest in cybersecurity at that point. Very early, when you think about 28 years ago, not very many females in that industry as well at that point. And I remember, going to some of the first industry events and really saying, we've got to change this dynamic of women in cybersecurity too. So that became a second passion through it. And I advanced. You just got the opportunity. What I said was, I'm going to be me. I'm going to be different. And I always kind of looked at like my peers and the strength of my peers and the ecosystem, but how can I augment that and be who I am and bring my own identity to it? So got the great opportunity and long-term, challenged through some decisions of, senior leadership roles and director level roles to then craft what was at that point our own cybersecurity business unit and bring the business case forward, which was quite a transformation in my career. It was such a great privilege to have that opportunity to speak to our president and really position why the investments were necessary. It was also very humbling and challenging for myself because, I was earlier in my leadership. So I love that opportunity and honestly then took really driving our cybersecurity business for many, many years and did have a parallel role through some of that in cloud when cloud was kind of just starting that transformation into MSPs. And then ultimately over the last 16 months came back into cloud running our Microsoft cloud business and really love it. I just have a deep passion for technology, innovative technologies, emerging tech. And I love to challenge myself technically too. So I think that's always been one of my passions behind the scenes is taking additional college classes or even hacker classes just to learn the technology itself so I can speak about it.
Tracy, you are a trailblazer in all the best ways. I am so impressed. With all of these experiences and transformations, what drives you to wanting to be in a leadership position?
I think I love this question the most because, I love giving back and mentoring and developing talent. So I do love that. I love, being able to see my team grow professionally, personally. And sometimes that's, with hard decisions that they leave my
Mm-hmm.
organization and they go to do great things in other organizations as our company or outside. And all of that has absolutely humbled me as a leader and the servant leadership, right? I've had
Yeah.
the great privilege, even the last, about a month ago, I got a call from a former colleague that worked for me and for a period of time. And she got an opportunity to go outside and she called me and she goes, everything you told me and challenged me about, but empowered me about taking the role too, even though you didn't want to lose me, came true. And you helped me set myself up for success during that time frame. And I couldn't have done it without you. And I was like, you did it on your own. I was just there empowering and helping, but that call just lifted me that entire day. Sometimes you need those opportunities.
Mhm.
And that's why I love being a leader in the organization and just seeing the talent develop and challenging myself too, to look at and seeing new talent come up in the organization and how my skills maybe need to augment based upon the next generation of workers too. And I love challenging myself around that too and learning new things.
Absolutely. Gosh, you've shared so many amazing challenges. You're constantly putting yourself into new opportunities to learn and grow. And I just love that to me, you're just a STEM trailblazer here, especially in the security, being in that early ages. Have you ever questioned your abilities and qualifications? And if so, how did you handle that?
Oh, yes. I think imposter syndrome, I look to learn from others. I've had great
Mm-hmm.
mentors through my life and, individuals that have really been ambassadors for me too. So I've had great leaders and I love, being challenged. I think it's also, I always say I'm very direct, transparent as a leader. Um, I think you set the right expectations through that, but sometimes that can be, challenging as well. But I would say, through my career, there's many times that you've hit, milestones, whether it be just, could be what's going on in the economic times. It could be what's going on in technology itself, but yet you owe it, I'm very much, I take and hold that on my shoulders, right? And so I have to often really make sure I'm challenging myself and not taking too much pressure, right? Or not enough pressure too.
Mm-hmm.
So because I'm so passionate about it and our success that it's who I am. So really, when I'm not driving or seeing the results, I always challenge myself. Am I doing all the right things? What else could I be doing? And learning from others too, because the best thing we can do is learn from others. And one idea is not the best idea; it's all of our ideas that make the best ideas.
Absolutely. And I love where you landed with that as well. Just knowing that we don't have to have it all figured out and we shouldn't expect to, and being able to be open to what others can teach us and what we can share and teach others.
And it's a hard thing as a
Um,
female to do that, right? I think that's
mhm.
absolutely probably one of the most challenging things as a female is we feel we got to check all boxes and absolutely live up to those expectations. And we put a lot of peer pressure on ourselves and constantly to perform at that level. And that sometimes can be stressful and it can sometimes really challenge yourself. So I always try to make sure every morning is a new morning, right? You wake up. So I treat it, everything's an opportunity. A challenge is an opportunity, and my team knows that. And I live with a whiteboard, right? And I'm constantly challenging myself, and things go on my whiteboard every day that, and I'll cross them off and make sure we're accomplishing those things.
Oh, I love that. Those are some great sayings to remind ourselves. I think we have time for one more. So I'm going to go with, what is the most important risk you took and why?
Oh, so this would be going back in my career when I was a senior leader. Got challenged by a VP at that point that I was working with. I absolutely adored working with the individual, but I couldn't stem. At that point, I was managing our cloud and our cybersecurity business. And the organizations were going to be separated into two separate business units. And I couldn't span both those business units. So I had to make a decision where I wanted to go. And it was cloud was the evolving technology. Cybersecurity was still not an invested, it was being the opportunity I was crafting around the business unit case. And I was asked to kind of make a decision which business unit I wanted to go. Of course, the leader at that point wanted me to kind of continue on the path with her. I said, give me the opportunity over the weekend to think about it. It's very challenging. I sat down with paper, wrote all the pros and cons, challenged myself around those, revisited them. And then I ultimately came back and I surprised the individual saying I was going to go work for, at that point, a senior vice president as a senior leader. I mean, just a manager. And that was a direct, a different direct leadership kind of style at that point. But I thought it was a risk that I was absolutely willing to take because I was so passionate about us starting our cybersecurity business at that point in the company of it was Tech Data at that point. And it really shaped my career, honestly. But it was very challenging because I could have done what was comfortable and stay with a leader that I knew and, knew what the expectations were. But I wanted to challenge myself. But I was more importantly very passionate about what we needed to do as a company to transform ourselves around cybersecurity. And I was willing to take the risk to do that. And I got a great opportunity out of it to work with so many senior leaders and present business cases and build out the organization. And then ultimately run that organization for a period of time. And then through post-merger, come together what is TDSynnex and such an amazing organization with phenomenal female leadership, even in cybersecurity. So it's been wonderful and something I always will look back upon my career as that transitional point that I took a risk and challenged myself and it paid off. But it was definitely, some learning opportunities through it too. And I absolutely will always, and I give that leader a credit all the time and it was a male. And he was such an inspiring leader at that point and really challenging me, but allowed me that growth opportunity too.
Tracy, it was an absolute pleasure getting to know you today. And I can't thank you enough for sharing a little bit of your journey and allowing us to celebrate you as our Woman of the Week.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. I love that you do these and we have the opportunity to come together and learn from each other.
Absolutely. All right, community members, please comment, share your insights with Tracy, give her, a virtual high five. And then until next time, happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday, everyone.